The views on a Breath of Fresh Air podcast reflects the parties involved, and we encourage you all to use it as a conversational tool that will lead to personal studies of your own.
Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
Welcome to a Breath of Fresh Air podcast. Here with your hosts, Earl Roberts and Nakhaz Gay. As a young person, Christianity can be so foggy, like smoke in the mirrors and so unclear. But we're here to bring you a breath of fresh air.
All right, Israelites, we've all gathered from Dan all the way to Beersheba and Gilead, and now we're meeting before the Lord in Mizpah. We've assembled the leaders of the tribes, and we've all put together 400,000 armed men ready for battle. Unfortunately, we have to go to war against our own brothers. But first, we'll give the Levite the floor. Tell us how this awful thing happened.
I and my concubine, we came to Gibeah and Benjamin just to spend the night. And during that night, the man of Gibeah came after me and they surrounded the house and they really intended to kill me. They raped my concubine and she died. I took my concubine, I cut her into pieces, and they sent one piece to each region of Israel's inheritance because they committed this lewd and outrageous act in Israel. Now all you Israelites, you need to speak up and tell me what you have decided to do.
None of us will go home. No, not one of us. And this is what we'll do to Gibeah. We'll go up against it in the order decided by casting lots. We'll take 10 men of every 100 from all the tribes of Israel, and 100 from every 1,000, and 1,000 from 10,000 to get provisions for the army. And then, when the army arrives at Gibeah in Benjamin, it can give them what they deserve for committing this outrageous act in Israel. Are you ready, troops? The Benjamites would pay for what they've done.
Welcome to the last episode of 2021. Thank you all for tuning in with us each week on our journey. This week our episode is based on Judges chapters 19 and 20. The Israelites are spiraling out of control, and we see their actions replicating another very popular story in the Bible. Just how bad have things gotten? Well, we'll let you decide for yourselves. As always, be blessed and enjoy. All right, welcome back to another episode of a Breath of Fresh Air podcast, the final episode of 2021. Yeah, so this week we are going to go back to the book of Judges. Hopefully you guys enjoyed our holiday episode, and hopefully you guys are having a safe and blessed holiday. Everyone's staying safe with that. It's interesting that tomorrow as I'm saying this, even though it's not really right now, but it's like we're about to start 2022. It's crazy. Time is flying by. Felt like the year just started. But hopefully everyone had a really blessed year. I know there's a lot of things that happened this year for everyone. Some of you may have lost somebody. Some of you may have had new experiences. Through it all, hopefully you guys had a time to reflect on the year. Remember all the good things that's happened. And just keep on moving on. Like, it's just interesting, man. Like, time's really going on. I was talking to someone this week, right? And they had an interesting perspective. They were saying, like, at the end of the year, a lot of people would have, like, you have your prayer list, right? But what some people need to start doing, which I think even I'm going to start doing, and encourage some of the listeners out there too, is like you have your prayer list, but also have a list of all the prayers that God answered for you during the year as well. Because a lot of people just, you just keep on praying to God for something that happens and you just move on. But you actually have like a prayer answered list. you actually can go back and reflect on what God is actually like. You actually can tangibly see what God has done for you in a more like tangible way. Because you might be like, oh yeah, he blessed me with that and that. But when you actually look back and see what you prayed for, and you actually can look back and say, yeah, this prayer was answered, no matter how small or how great it is, you'd be like, oh yeah, like this year has been filled with blessings, and it helps you remember them a little bit more and show you a bit more you can be grateful for. So this is an interesting thought, something I think I'm going to start doing, because I mean, I've never done it before. I mean, I've had a prayer list before, but I've never had like a prayer answered list, like moving from this list to the next list. So that's an interesting perspective.
No, I had a similar thought just this week. I was saying that, like how people say, count your blessings.
Mm-hmm.
The only way for me to count my blessings is to write them down. My mom keep a prayer book,
Mm-hmm.
and she takes, to my remembrance as a child, she used to take very vivid notes. You understand what I'm saying? Sometimes she used to write down her prayers. I don't know if she used to check them off or not, but she had a count of prayers that had been answered. And I feel like that's important because, bro, it's easy to just forget what God do for you. Like you said many times, bro, you have to look back and realize that in a lot of ways you are at a place where you are at the place where you prayed to be.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And that's crazy, bro, because when we get it, it's like, it's like the ambition of just being at somewhere new and just experiencing that new thing. Until you experience it, you live it, and now that ambition, it come back. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, it can eliminate the idea that, God isn't moving in your life. Because sometimes you feel like you just need to feel God. Like, that's how I always feel. And I don't think that's righteous of me to say that. Because truthfully, if I didn't have short-term memory like the Israelites, like a lot of people in the Bible, I would realize how much God does for me and how much he has already did for me. Like all of the blessings that I have, bro, like this year alone, I could go crazy. Right now, if I was to talk about recently, it don't, like, my year ending in a less favorable position that it was at the beginning and like towards the like end of third quarter, when I got married and stuff like that. And I could just say, bro, the Lord have a dark cloud over me, XYZ. But if he could talk to me, he'd probably tell me to guard my loins like a man, like what did he tell Job? Like,
exactly.
Bro, if you don't relax, bro, because like in all honesty, you ain't even being fair. Because you only telling a story of this one minuscule thing or a group of minuscule things compared to all of the good that I've done and will do, and I've done all your life. So I definitely do think that's actually a very necessary thing to do if you're not going to remember all that God's done for you,
I mean, because like, even let's think about it, like, I shouldn't say how can you remember, but it's like God answers prayers for me from January that in December I'm not thinking about. And if I don't have a list, you're not thinking about that at all. And then the same goes with February, March, April, May, June. Like, you might remember some of the bigger ones that you prayed for, but overall you don't, because what's important to you now wasn't important to you then, and vice versa. So it's like you were praying for things at the beginning of the year that God answered, but you already moved on from that and you're already on a different mental space. And so, like, sometimes just be good to have that record. And it's not for God, but it's for our personal selves, because I mean, we get discouraged a lot. Sometimes we feel down, and like you say, sometimes you just want God to like move in our lives, but then you're like, but God's like, I've done so much for you, and you're so short-sighted that you can't even see what I've done for you. And I mean, God definitely might be nicer than how I'm phrasing it, right? But at the same time, just look at the children of Israelite. It's like, it's so easy to judge them, which we do, and we're critical of them. But like we've said many times on previous episodes, how many times have we found ourselves in similar positions? Like, God just finished blessing you, sending you your water, sending you your food, man, bringing you through your darkest days. And I'm sure everyone had some dark days in 2021. I'm speaking generally. You might not have, might have been super blessed, but like on those days you thought you weren't going to make it. In those days you thought that you had no way out, no escape, don't know where your next meal was coming from, don't know where your light bill was going to get paid, don't know if you're going to have a job tomorrow. But look at this, you're at the end of 2021. Like, you still made it through. And this might happen 6 months ago, and you're like, oh yeah, like oh yeah, God, what am I going to find? Well, I guess Christmas just passed, but the Christmas money from. But God's like, man, I already put you in a position where you could at least have a job and food and water and stuff like that. So it's just an interesting conversation to have. And yeah, man, like I think it's important. So I'm going to make a concerted effort to at least try. And, I'm probably going to try, even use this as my accountability tool to be like, yeah, so here's some of the things that God blessed me with like this quarter. Some of the things I prayed for, some of the things that came through. That way, share with the audience. And some people might be blessed by it, but at the same time, it's me keeping myself accountable. And you could keep me accountable to that too. Like, Earl, where's that prayer answers list? I'll be like, all right, I get it for you guys next week or something.
Yeah, but God is good though. You know what I'm saying? Even when we don't understand him, bro. I've been reading Job, bro. I was just telling you, I've been reading a bunch of books. You know what I'm saying? Like Job is one I read because I wanted to hear from the man who had everything taken away from him and still did not sin against God, despite the whining. The man was whining, bro. Like he ain't cursed God or none of that. You know what I'm saying? And God even co-signed some of the stuff he was saying at the end of the book. And so, like, my thing is, although we might feel like something ain't fair, bro, but like, God is so superior to us, like that the fact, like our feelings, like our emotions can tell us that it ain't fair, bro, but we ain't even qualified to even comprehend what fair and what ain't fair, what just and what ain't just. Excuse me. So it's like we need to always, we need not to fill our minds thinking about like God being unfair or God punishing us and stuff like that, and just focus on the fact that God is righteous. You know what I'm saying? And focus on what God could be trying to help us do. All right, so Genesis, my boy Richard, bro, I can't wait to get him on the party. He'd say stuff like, bro, you need to know what you believe, why you believe it, where it's found. You understand? So since then, I've been trying, when I read text and I really like the text, I've been trying to like memorize it. But Genesis 50, verse 20, this is Joseph talking to his brothers. You intended to harm me, but the Lord intended it for good, the saving of many lives. So, but Joseph been through the mud, bro. Joseph was dealing raw deal, bro. He gets screwed over, bro. He was loyal and he keep getting screwed over. Same thing with Job. Understand what I'm saying? But God used this to mold him into the person that would be ready to govern over all of Egypt. You know what I'm saying? So it's always optimism you can find through this, bro. Think about, excuse me. Think about if Job did curse God, bro. He'd have missed out on all of this, and we would have missed out on a lesson. Think about if Joseph did sleep with Potiphar's wife, bro. He would have missed out on all of this, and we would have missed out on a lesson. You know what I'm saying? So as you go through your quote unquote season, it might not be a good season. You know what I'm saying? It might be the 7 years of famine. You understand? But all of that, if you leave it to God, bro, that could be the most constructive time in your life, and you can learn stuff that you wouldn't learn in 20 years or over this little situation. It could force you to grow at a rapid pace, you know?
Oh man, it's interesting. So it's like what we post on the Instagram page this week. So I guess people actually could date when we actually recorded this episode if they care to. But this too shall pass. And the reason why that's saying is like this week I was going through something and I was like, oh, you know what? Just this too shall pass, because like you say, look at Joseph. He went through his lows upon lows, but it passed. He got out of it, went through another low, but it passed. And to me, it goes with the good and the bad. You can have your lowest of low days, the days where you feel like you aren't going to make it. God brings you to it. This too shall pass. You can have your days when you're feeling so high on the cloud that you are the man of the world. This too shall pass. And so it's just interesting. So like, no matter what we go through, just gotta remember that you are in a season and this too shall pass. Your next season could be a next season of plentiful, or it could be a valley that you're about to walk through. But just always have to remember, like, this too shall pass. And man, it's crazy. So like, I was just even like you said, how you just brought up Genesis, right? Bro, our last, like we started this year. Guess where we started this year?
Where is that?
We started this year on episode 17 in Genesis 30, 33, and 35. my sister's keeper. And you know what that episode was talking about.
Oh yeah.
But dang, I mean, like, it's just so interesting. So look how far, like, even we've come in a year. Like, this is this should be episode 68. Like, from episode 17 to 68, a full year, man. Like, God is good.
Amen to that. And
God is good.
a full 52 episodes, bro. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, like, we finished Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua,
and now Judges.
Technically, we're about to finish Judges.
Yep.
Like, amen. Let's see where 2022 takes us. God's willing.
Amen to that.
God is willing. So, yeah, I mean, thank you all. And again, thank you all for the audience. Thank you guys for tuning in each and every week. Thank you for the feedback that we've gotten. I don't even want to start naming names because I start to get in trouble each time I do that. But thanks to the loyal audience. Thanks to our new listeners. Thanks for like telling a friend about the podcast. Thanks for sharing it. Man, you know what's so interesting too, man? Like, I listen to a bunch of podcasts during the week about business and entrepreneurship and everything, right? And I listened to one about DJ Khaled, like one DJ Khaled had this week. And he was saying like, one of the reasons why he didn't blow up in like the early 2000s, I didn't believe him until Snapchat. He was like, yo, the people who knew about me kept me to themselves. And I was like, that's so interesting too. And I'm like, when you have something good, your natural instinct is to keep it to yourself.
For sure.
But sometimes it's like, and I ain't saying we the best, right? So I ain't trying to get cocky, DJ Khaled pun. We the best. But
I got it.
but like, I mean, like, it's always good. Like, just share it. Like, I encourage everyone to share the podcast out. Like, share it with one person every week. Like, it could be someone you know, someone you don't know. Like, I'll actually probably share it with someone you know, because that may be weird if you're just randomly sending it to someone. Like, hey, you need to hear this. Approach it with love, but like, just share it out with a friend or family member. Let them listen to it. They may or may not enjoy it, but definitely like just let them listen to it. So yeah, just encourage that. Again, also follow us on our social media platforms. We haven't talked about that in a while. Me and Kazi really need to get together, which we gonna do, and actually just like plan out like the direction we want to take the podcast in, because we do talk about it, and we have a bunch of ideas, but we actually need to like start
execute.
Yeah, because our excuses start running out now. It's almost like when we first started the podcast. It's like we get to that point where y'all really don't have excuses not to be doing these things anymore, because all of our excuses that we had are they're gone. So definitely in 2022, I mean, yeah, we gonna get together. We're gonna have some things planned and make the podcast more interactive and that kind of stuff. So we got some big ideas. We're gonna work on that. Yeah, like shoot, we're already 14 minutes in, so I guess we should start Judges before we turn this into an end of year recap episode. So as a recap, because I know we had the Christmas episode last week, and we're probably gonna go a high level overview and just have some discussion in between. But we're gonna, like I said, we're ending Judges this week, and so we're probably gonna go to Judges 19, 20, and 21, and as a recap of the book of Judges in totality, I know we said we might do a Judges episode, like a Judges recap episode. We'll see how that goes. That might be the first episode of 2022. But Judges so far, we've seen how these children of Israel, the nation of Israel now, have started to slowly, or as some would argue, rapidly spiral out of control. We've seen from the first judge to now, at the last episode we covered in Judges, Micah's idols, the one that came out 2 weeks ago, that we've seen how each judge progressively got worse. And as Kazi eloquently described, Samson might have been the most well-known judge, but at the end of the day, as term of his actual purpose, he was probably one of the most useless judges. But we've seen how the whole theme of the book of Judges is how when the children of God don't talk about the works and wonders of God to their children, how the knowledge of God can get lost. And when the knowledge of God is lost, people start to do what is right in their own eyes because they have no wisdom and counsel. They quite literally start to lean onto their own understanding. And so this is where we're at. Last episode, we see how we had a Levite who was doing things that wasn't of a Levite. They were worshiping idols in the household. The nation was just going almost into civil war status. And we're going to see some lot of disturbing imagery and once again this part of Judges. But the theme now is really showing how far Israel as a whole has fallen from God. No longer just the judges, their leaders, but we're seeing how as a whole, the whole nation now has spiraled to a point where it's essentially uncontrollable. And Kaz had a good point about this. I'll let him talk about when we get there, but you can, like, it's really going to be so evident that, wow, this nation has fallen so far from God that it's really sad.
Mm-hmm.
So that was just the background. So without further ado, we're going to pick up in Judges 19. And it starts off with, in those days, Israel had no king. And so we see there was a Levite man who lived in a remote area of the hill country in Ephraim. Ephraim was a really popping place.
Yes.
He took a concubine with him. He took a concubine from Bethlehem in Judah, but she was unfaithful to him. She left him and went back to her parents' home in Bethlehem. After she had been there for 4 months, her husband went to her to persuade her to return. He had with him a servant and 2 donkeys. She took him to her parents' home, and when her father saw him, he gladly welcomed him. His father-in-law, the woman's father, prevailed on him to stay. So he remained with them for 3 days, eating and drinking and sleeping there. So I have a question for you, Ghazi. Yeah. So suppose you just got married, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And your wife leave you for 4 months, unprovoked. Well, I shouldn't say unprovoked, but either way.
Well, first of all, I a little confused about this because it's like, is this his wife or his concubine? Like, they say his father-in-law, but then they describe her as his concubine.
So this kind of go back with like Hagar. Because remember, Hagar was described in both instances.
Oh yeah.
So it's like
they were married.
Yeah, but it wasn't
like a secondary. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So,
but the man obviously loved this woman because she's described as being unfaithful to him, and I take that as infidelity, right? And she also don't want to be around him. You feel me? But he come there to persuade her. But her dad likes him a lot. Like, like
he might have been a stand-up guy.
Yeah, like he might have been a good guy. Like, yeah, I know you. I know my daughter, bro. You don't deserve this, bro. But y'all already tethered together. You know what I mean? Like, but I still feel for you, and I feel you, bro. I don't want to lose you as a son-in-law. Maybe.
Yeah, it was interesting. I was like, so I started reading this. I was like, so it's an interesting movie plot.
Yeah, bro. Like, it's crazy because, like, all right. So once you understand how far the story goes, right? Mm-hmm. You think about how avoidable all of this was. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? It could have been avoided if she didn't leave, if he didn't return.
Exactly.
And if the father just would let the man go about his business. You feel me?
Mm-hmm. So we see on the 4th day, picking up in verse 5, on the 4th day, they got up early and prepared to leave. But the woman's father said to the son-in-law, refresh yourself with something to eat, then you can go. So the 2 of them sat down, eat and drink together. Afterwards, the woman's father said, please stay tonight and enjoy yourself. And when the man got up to go, his father-in-law persuaded him, so he stayed there that night. On the morning of the 5th day, so we already see some days have been winding by now.
Yes.
When he rose to go for it.
I mean, I'm gonna stay a week over where he's supposed to live.
She must see was worth it, bro. That's all I can say.
Or the father just drive a hard bargain, bro. He seemed like he don't take no for an answer, bro.
On the 5th day, when he rose to go, the woman's father said, refresh yourself, wait till afternoon. So the 2 of them ate together, and he sure had food on deck.
What?
Then the man, with his concubine and his servant, got up to leave. His father-in-law, the woman's father, said, now look, it's almost evening. Spend the night here. The day is nearly over. Stay and enjoy yourself. Early tomorrow, you can get up and be on your way home. But unwilling to stay another night, the man left and went toward Jebus, that is Jerusalem, with his 2 saddle donkeys and his concubine. Then, when they were near Jebus, and the day was almost gone, the servant said to his master, come, let us stop in the city of the Jebusites and spend the night. His master replied, no, we won't go to any city whose people are not Israelites. We will go to Jebel.
So that sounds reasonable, right? As Israelite people.
But it sounds reasonable to me.
Yeah, it sounds like a pretty good idea to me.
Let me stay with my people. Eh? You always say, I feel safer with my people and not my people. It's like when you go to college, and I mean, as a Bahamian, you would just naturally gravitate towards the Bahamians.
The Bahamians, yeah.
Before you gravitate towards anyone else. You're like, hey, I know my people. I know what y'all about.
I know how far y'all is take things, you know what I mean? I already know what to expect from y'all.
Exactly. Exactly. And see, you had a little different experience because you went to Oakwood. So it was a bunch of y'all.
Yeah, we had a good much Bahamian. And it's like, there's a lot of Bahamians who I just didn't know. Like, I might have seen them once, but there's a lot of them who I just did not know. And we just instantly clicked.
Bro, when I went to Walla Walla, it wasn't as much as Oakwood. I got to count the amount of Bahamians on my one hand. But it was like, but it's all we got. Remember my boy Leslie? It was the first time we meet each other when we showed up to Walla Walla. But we was like instantly, bro, like, look at that. Now we like best friends.
You're a dog.
To this day.
From two different parts of the Bahamas, just click just like that.
Exactly. He's like, bro, we got to make it out here. We got to survive. So back to your point, this sounds perfectly reasonable. I'd rather stay with my people because I know what to expect. Mm-hmm. But what happens, Kazi, when you don't know what to expect from your own people? What happens when the flip is script? When the script is flipped?
Yeah.
How do you mess that up? That's bad.
I do not know, but and then at the same time, I don't know what happens when the flip is script either, bro. So to answer both of your questions, I just don't know, bro. Nobody knows these things, bro. And obviously, the Levite did not know either.
All right. So we said, okay, let's try to reach Gebai or Ramna and spend the night in one of these places. So they went on as the sun set near Jeber and Benjamin. There they stopped to spend the night. They went and they sat in the city square, but no one took them in for the night. All right. So just to paint a parallel, this already sounding pretty similar to I think it was episode 16 or someplace around there where we covered a very similar story where some people went into a town at night and it was getting night and they were just in the city square. Mm-hmm. So then verse 16, the evening, an old man from the hill country of Ephraim was living in Jebel. The inhabitants of the place were Benjamites, came in from his work in the fields. When he looked and saw the trouble in the city square, the old man asked, "Where are you going? Where did you come from?" He answered, "We are on our way from Bethlehem in Judah to a remote area in the hill country in Ephraim where I live. I live in Bethlehem in Judah, and now I am going to the house of the Lord. No one has taken me in for the night. We have both straw and fodder for our donkeys and bread and wine for ourselves. Your servants, me, the woman, and the young man with us, we don't need anything." So he pleaded in this case. He said, "I don't need nothing from you. I just need a place to rest my head. I ain't going to be a burden to you. I got my own food. My donkeys have their own fodder and their own straw. You don't got to worry about nothing. If I could help it, I'd rather not sleep in the city square tonight."
Exactly.
In the case, I got my own wine even. I literally am not going to be a burden to you.
I just don't understand why you didn't just spend the night by your father-in-law one more time and then just leave in the day.
Because I think, like you say, this man drives a very hard bargain.
Yeah.
He's like, I didn't do this 5 days in a row.
Yeah.
Let me get out now while I could, because in the morning it could be the same thing. I could get up and you could be like, stay until the afternoon to try to get me to stay again.
It could be another scheme when I wake up in the morning. Here, remind me of what's your boy name? Laban.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Another father-in-law who just don't take no for an answer, really.
Yeah, so now in verse 20, logically, it's a nice old man who got some years on himself. You say, okay, you're welcome at my house, you ain't got nothing else. You ain't gonna be a burden to me. The least I could do is let you stay in my house. And he probably knew what was coming. So let me supply whatever you need. Only, again, don't spend the night in this town square. Whatever you do, don't spend the night here.
You're a dog.
So we took him to his house and fed his donkeys, and they washed their feet. They had something to eat and drink. While they were enjoying themselves, some wicked men of the city surrounded their house, pounding on the door. They shouted to the old man who owned the house, "Bring out that man who came to your house. so that we can have sex with him. Sounds eerily familiar to
So,
Genesis
right now-
19.
Yeah.
Go for it.
No, and I was about to say at this time, the cat is out the bag, bro. This is very reminiscent. Bro, it's like, it's to the point where when I was listening to this when I was in the gym, and I was just letting Judges play a couple months back, and I was like, I thought I was in Judges. When I get to Genesis, right? Because this really is identical to Sodom and Gomorrah. Like the facts are identical. You understand? You're just swapping out the two angels with a Levite and his concubine, and I'm guessing a servant. You know, but then you have an old man who is hospitable, same way we have Lot. You know, we have the city who just going crazy because they see fresh meat.
Quite literally.
Yeah. So, yeah.
And it's just so interesting, man. Like the exact same things. The exact same things were said. It's interesting how it's Genesis 19 and what's this? Judges 19. Like the stories literally parallel each other. Does he say old man? Well, a guy who was saying, "Hey, I'm gonna be hospitable. You come sleep with me." The man surrounding the city, banging on the door. The exact same phrase was said. And again, we see in verse 23, the owner came outside and went to them, "No, my friends, do not do this vile thing. These are my guests. Do not do this outrageous thing. Look, here is my virgin daughter and his concubine. I will bring them out to you now, and you can use them to do whatever you wish. But as for this man, do not do this outrageous thing." But the man would not listen to him. Or go for it.
I still don't get why they do that, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like, why they
Just
not
awful?
protective? Yeah, like why they not protective of their daughters and wives, bro? Like, because Lot was ready to give up two of his daughters.
I feel you. And it's so weird. I'm like, I guess they saying, hey, if you want to have sex, it is much better for you to have sex with a woman than a man, especially a guest. I don't know why.
I get.
It's weird
See,
to
bro,
even say that, but
yeah, but at the same time, bro, you can't say what just go through your mind when a whole town of men that not only probably want to cause you harm, but they want to violate you. You know what I mean? Like, I don't get it, but you know, I can't speak to how you should act in that situation. You know what I mean?
But I guess it's like really and truly, there ain't too much options you got.
But
I was gonna put it on you just now, right? I'm like, so what would you do? Like,
it ain't too much right answers.
I don't know what I would do. Like, what do you do? Do you say take me instead? No.
Wait, really? No, literally. I just start praying, bro. I prayed obnoxiously too, and I prayed out loud so you can hear me. I prayed out loud obnoxiously, bro.
You think they can quell that angry crowd?
But
well,
I hope so, bro.
God can do all things. So let me know.
Amen to that, bro. Amen to that. Real talk. Real talk.
So again, so now here's where the story shifts, right? Because in Genesis, we know naturally definitely check out that episode if you haven't already. But we know the two men that were in Lot's house were angels. So they were able to quickly blind the crowd, pull Lot back inside before something serious happens, and there was no giving over of any females to the crowd or any males. The angels just put a stop to that here. But again, we see this happening again in an Israelite town. So what happens when your people don't know, like when you no longer know what to expect from your people? They're here now. There's no angels here. And again, everyone is doing what is right in their own eyes. And so this is like a crazy parallel that we're seeing. What happens when everyone is doing what is right in their own eyes?
You know, in the Bahamas, when somebody ruthless, right? And when somebody just like, they just like, I don't say evil, but when they just really, really dangerous, we'd say, but this person don't have no law, bro. Like he'll rob a old person, he'll shoot up a church, bro. He ain't got no law. You know
exactly.
what I mean? Truthfully, it's like, if you don't have nothing moral to stand on, then anything goes. Right? So, and that's the point the author is making when he say Israel had no king. Right? Now granted, Israel never had a king, really. I mean, if you want to call a judge a king, yeah, but truthfully, there was times when Israel didn't have a specific leader. Understand what I'm saying? Like Moses was the leader, but even before that, when it was the literal Israel, like Jacob, like he didn't have a king. You know what I mean? His children didn't have kings, thing like that. Like not everyone had a king. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, God was supposed to be their king. God was supposed to lead them in battle X, Y, Z. So the fact that they don't have no king is just showing that these people, they didn't have God. But now they don't even have no one talking to God on their behalf or anything like that. And Sodom and Gomorrah, right? We know how evil Sodom and Gomorrah was, right? They was evil to the point where they didn't even have 10 men that were righteous men. They were evil to the point where God saw it fit to destroy that city. You know, that's one of the first cities. Like, so watch this. We know the whole world get destroyed. I think it was like Genesis 6 or something like that. The flood, basically. And we see where the city get destroyed. It's a common theme with evil people and the cities getting destroyed. God actually give a lot of the Canaanite countries into the hands of the Israelites to destroy them because they were evil. In the book of Deuteronomy, they say, don't think you destroying them because you're righteous. No, you're destroying them because they are evil. And this is coming to them regardless. You know what I'm saying? And now, at the end of Judges, the author is painting a picture that the Israelites are now becoming like the cities that God wants put an end to and us destroyed. AKA, they are becoming like the Canaanites. Sodom and Gomorrah was well in the land of Canaan. But this was like 1,000 years before this happened. You know what I'm saying? And so even from then, these people was evil, right? But now y'all here and y'all allowed yourself to be completely influenced by them. And that's literally the point where we are with Judges, where the Israelites are no different than the Canaanites, like at all. They basically are the Canaanites, but just of a different bloodline.
Yep. And so we see the man would not listen to him. So the man took it. Okay, we already read that part. So in verse 27. No, I missed the part. Okay, yeah. So the man would not listen to him. And so the man took his concubine and sent her outside to them. And they raped her and abused her throughout the night. And at dawn, they let her go. At daybreak, the woman went back to the house where her master was staying, fell down at the door, and lay there until daylight. When her master got up in the morning and opened the door of the house and stepped out to continue on his way, there lay his concubine, fallen in the doorway of the house, with her hands on the threshold. He said to her, "Get up, let's go." But there was no answer. Then the man put her on his donkey and set out for home. When he reached home, he took a knife and cut up his concubine limb by limb into 12 parts and sent them into all the areas of Israel. Everyone who saw it was saying to one another, "Such a thing has never been seen or done, not since the day the Israelites came up out of Egypt. Just imagine. We must do something, so speak up." And so this thing again, like, and again, Egypt was that evil influence that they were under. And you see, and they saying like nothing like this has ever been done before. But again, goes to Kazi's point. This was a spitting image of Sodom and Gomorrah, a city that God was able to destroy. Now, this is his own people who should have been serving him, who should have been the light.
And this was the fate of Lot and his people and them angels if they wasn't angels. You know what I mean? This was what's gonna happen. So now we see it come through this time, you know? And bro, it's just go to show how humans can't rely on their own logic or their own morals, bro. Because we don't have them. Our morals come from God or come from some other thing, from some other human. And if humans are the ones who create the moral standard, everyone gonna do what's right in their own eyes. Truthfully. Exactly.
So in chapter 20 has 48 verses. It's gonna be powerful. I just dubbed chapter 20 the Civil War.
Yep.
So it's the little
This where everything ripe, bro. This where the fullness of time has come for Israel, bro. Because like This the point, bro. It's like this the point where y'all explode.
Yeah.
You know, y'all was playing with fire. Y'all was playing fire since the book started, bro. But this the time where y'all explode or implode rather. You know, when everything really coming crumbling down because now y'all fighting each other. We thought Gideon's son, what his name is? I can't remember his name. Gideon's son who was waging war against his own town. This really
Abimelech.
Abimelech. Abimelech, that would drive me crazy. But so now we see Abimelech type story again, bro. But this for real now, because this clans versus clans. Well, clans versus the
Benjaminites.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see how we can go through this. Okay, so also we see our last chapter ended. So then all Israel from Dan to Beersheba and from the land of Gilead came together as one and assembled before the Lord in Mizpah. The leaders of all the people of the tribes of Israel took their places in the assemblies of God, in the assembly of God's people, 400,000 men armed with swords. The Benjaminites heard the Israelites had gone up to Mizpah. The Israelites said, "Tell us how this awful thing had happened." So the Levite, the husband of the murdered woman, said, "I and my concubine came up to go to Gibeah in Benjamin to spend the night. During the night, the men of Gibeah came after me and surrounded the house, intending to kill me. They raped my concubine, and she died. I took the concubine, cut her into pieces, and sent one piece to each region of Israel's inheritance, because they committed this lewd and outrageous act in Israel. Now, all you Israelites, speak up and tell me what you have decided to do." Interesting. And all the men rose up together as one, saying, "None of us will go home. Not one of us will return to his house. But now this is what we will do to Gibeah. We will go up against it in the order decided by casting lots. We will take 10 men out of every 100 from all the tribes of Israel, and 100 from 1,000, and 1,000 from 10,000 to get provisions for the army. Then when the army arrives at Gibeah in Benjamin, it can give them what they deserve for this outrageous act they have done to Israel." So the Israelites got together and united as one against the city. So now we see most of the other tribes of Israel came together, formed a well-sized army, I might add, a well-sized army armed with swords and saying, "You know what? Enough is enough. Benjamin, you've gone too far.
Yep.
We need to do something about this." Interesting. So the tribes, picking up at verse 12, the tribes of Israel sent messengers throughout the tribe of Benjamin saying, "What about this awful crime that was committed among you? Now turn those wicked men of Gibeah over to us, that we may put them to death and purge the evil from Israel." But the Benjamite would not listen to their fellow Israelites.
But that's in Deuteronomy though, when they have a bunch of stuff that if this happened, bro, put them to death, bro. Purge, purge evil. So they was kind of quoting the book. So there's like, yeah, let's play it by the book, But everybody, they should have known that, bro. At this point in time, bro, we've been disregarding the law for so long, but what is the law,
Like, why you coming now trying to impose this? Where was this for the last couple hundred years?
Exactly.
I said, what? Y'all doing this in y'all sounds? What y'all coming here for?
Exactly.
So the Benjamins naturally would not listen to their fellow Israelites. From their towns, they came together at Gibeah to fight against the Israelites. And now they're saying, okay, you know what? Y'all are one rise against us. Okay, let us prepare ourselves for battle. At once, the Benjamites mobilized 26,000 swordmen from their towns.
The Benjamites wanted smoke, bro. They willing to fight for, bro. You know what it is? Y'all have a bunch of rapists running around, right? And instead of sending them to be arrested or killed, y'all want to fight for them, bro. That's crazy to me. Like that's crazy. And bro, then they had fighters in their clan, bro.
They had left-handed fighters too, bro.
They had left-handed fighters, bro. They wanted the smoke, bro.
Was Aglon a Benjamite?
Probably. No, I don't know. I'm just kidding. I don't know.
I think he was.
All right, I'll look that up.
No, he was a Benjamite. Because remember, there was this in the thing. He was a Benjamite. Because remember they specifically say he was a Benjamite and he was left-handed. And when we went back and we set up and we discovered like because the Benjamins are kind of left-handed too. So again, we seeing among them there were 700 troops who were left-handed. Each of them could sling a stone at a hair and not miss. So they was skillful, bro. Like
that's why I was saying, bro. These people wanted to smoke, bro. First of all, you remember we mentioned earlier with the Eglon with the Eglon thing.
mm-hmm.
It was like, well, no, his name is Ehud. Eglon was the king. Was the king.
I had Ehud in my head for some reason. I swapped the two because I was like, the king is Ehud.
Yeah, they both saw it. Yeah, I always get them mixed up too. But the left hand thing was like you were looked at as like a handicapped person if you was left-handed because like they probably looked at it as something that's unnatural. But they saying they had left-handed people who you would assume to be behind the 8 ball. But these guys were sharp, bro. They were marksmen, if you may, you know. And
I just looked at it again, so it'd be in Judges 3:15. Ehud, a left-handed man, the son of Gera, the Benjamite. So yeah, just wanted to drive from the fact that he was also a Benjamite.
Nice little golden nugget.
Yeah, so Israel, a part of Benjamin, mustered 400,000 swordsmen, all of them fit for battle. The Israelites went up to Bethel and inquired of God. They said, who of us is to go up and fight against the Benjamites? The Lord replied, Judah shall go first. And this is so interesting to me because I'm like, as much as y'all didn't regard God, y'all still always knew where God was and how to reach him. Granted, I mean, naturally, Earl, we all know how to reach God. But I'm like, when things really, really hit the fan, y'all always go back to God.
Please go to God, boy. And the thing, God's so just, like he righteous to, answer them. You know what I mean? There's one time when God was like, bro, no, go to your idols. You feel me? and there's like, no, God, we'll do whatever you say. Like, even if you curse us, yes, but help us right now. And he still did help.
So we see the next one, the Israelites got up and pitched their camp near Gibeah and Gibeah. My pardon me for my pronunciation. The Israelites went out to fight the Benjamites and took up the battle positions against them in Gibeah. The Benjamites came out of Gibeah and cut down 22,000 Israelites on the battlefield that day. They knew what they was doing, son. 22,000 men. Bro, that's just dropping bodies. But the Israelites encouraged They encouraged one another and took up their positions when they had stationed themselves the first day. The Israelites went up and wept before the Lord until evening, and they inquired the Lord. They said, shall we go up again and fight against the Benjamites, our fellow Israelites? You can imagine this, but like, whoa, we supposed to be the bigger army. We supposed to kill them with numbers, but they more skillful. So we thought we was about to win. They whoop us bad. But
they asked God who should go, and God said, Judah, go.
Exactly.
And they went and got destroyed. You feel me? So like this whole thing perplexed me because like, who do you side with, bro? It's Israelite versus Israelite, bro. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So. Oh my, but it's just like I hate to encourage you, like, yeah, man, we got whooped today, but you guys got it tomorrow. The Lord said, go up against them. The Israelites drew near Benjamin the second day. This time, when the Benjamins came out of Gibeah to oppose them, they cut down another 18,000 Israelites with armed swords. Then the Israelites, the whole army, went up to Bethel, and they sat weeping before the Lord. They fasted that day until evening and presented burnt offerings and fellowship offerings towards the Lord. The Israelites inquired of the Lord. In those days, the Ark of the Covenant of God was there with Phinehas, son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, administering to it before it. That's a story for another day.
We didn't even get the time to get into that, bro.
That's a story for another day.
We could bring that up in Ruth when we get to
Don't worry, yeah. That topic will be revisited. They asked, shall we go up again to fight the Israelites, to fight against the Benjamites, our fellow Israelites or not? Bro, how would you be feeling at this time if you was in the Israelite camp? This is already like almost 40,000 of y'all and get dropped.
But I don't get it because God instructing them to go. You understand what I'm saying? So like that leads me to believe that that's God's will was for them to get destroyed by the Benjamites.
I mean, it's like at the same time, it's like you say, all y'all doing evil.
Yeah.
All y'all doing evil.
Like literally, yes. You know what I'm saying? So like I don't know who and all y'all doing evil and all y'all is Israelites. You know what I mean? I don't know if the Benjamites consulting God. They probably did, but the Bible don't say that. So So I don't know.
But then at the same time too, is like this still almost remind me of like Balaam's story, because y'all inquired of God after y'all already made a decision to go and fight. So if God would tell y'all no, 2-1, y'all still was going to go fight.
See, but then you know what else though? God, they asked God what to do, right? God said Judah should go first, but then the text say the next morning the Israelites got up and pitched their tent near Gibeah. But it don't specific. Now this could be semantics, but it don't specifically say, okay, so only Judah went X, Y, Z.
But you would think they would say, like this was like in the book of, I'm gonna say the book of Moses, but if this was like in Exodus or even Joshua, it would have been spelled out that way too. So it might be semantics, but at the same time, it might be a valid point. They might have just sent the amount of men they wanted to send.
Yeah, he might have said Judah, and they might have said, "Mom, all us might as well go, bro."
We heard go.
Yeah, that's the only thing. That's the only thing we heard.
Yeah, because that's what really gets me. Because I'm like, y'all already formed this whole army of 400,000 men before consulting God. So y'all already made up your mind what y'all wanted to do and what y'all were going to do, and then kind of backtracked and then tried to consult God about it when you already made up your mind what you was going to do. So that's just like a little thought there that I didn't really think about until this time. So I ain't even want to flush it out to get, But so where was I? In verse, I think it was 27. Oh no, I think it was like around 28. Yeah, okay, yeah. So the Lord responded, "Go tomorrow, I will give them into your hands." Then Israel set an ambush for Gibeah. They went up against the Benjamites on the third day and took up positions in Gibeah as they had done before. The Benjamites came out to meet them and were drawn away from the city. They began to inflict casualties on the Israelites as they did before, so that about 30 men fell in the open field and on the roads, the one leading to Bethel and the other to Gibeah, while the Benjamites were saying, "We are defeating them as before." The Israelites were saying, "Let us retreat and draw them away from the city to the roads." All the men of Israel moved from their places and took up positions at Baal Tamar, and the Israelite ambush charged out of the place on the west of Gibeah. Then 10,000 of Israel's able young men made a frontal attack on Gibeah. The fighting was so heavy that the Benjamites did not realize how near the disaster was. The Lord defeated Benjamin before Israel. And that day, the Israelites struck down 25,100 Benjamites with all armed swords. The Benjamites saw that they were beaten. One important thing, the Bible clearly says the Lord defeated Benjamin before Israel.
Yeah.
As in, and that's what even made me believe that, Israel was relying on their own strength and their own numbers and their own prowess, for lack of a better word, to defeat Benjamin. And was trying to get confirmation from God that they were doing the right thing. God still had to come back and be like, y'all numbers means nothing to me. Because, okay, since y'all really want to go and do this, go day 1, get strike down. Go day 2. Now, you know what we need to do now? Hey, Kazi, they start to remember everything that they should be doing. We probably should fast. We probably should pray. We probably should offer sacrifices. So what y'all was doing this whole time? But like how much times we treat God like an ATM, bro? We just go up and expect to, get exactly what we want when we want it, but not really be doing what we're supposed to be doing.
Another thing I'd say is, I've said this before, but right now, I'm really learning this, bro. Like experiencing this, bro. This isn't biblical. I'm sure there are other ways to say this, but it's better to be righteous than to be right. The Israelites were right. The Benjamites waged unlawful war against them, and they should have given over those men because they committed a crime. And by the law of God, they're supposed to purge the evil from them. So the Israelites were right? But did they move righteously in attacking Benjamin? Did they move the way that God wanted them to move? Because at the end of the day, bro, you can do harm to me, but But that don't mean, bro, I shouldn't show you grace, bro. Grace is the righteous thing to do. You understand what I'm saying? I have a claim, bro. You could slap me, bro. You could steal from me. Bro, I could inflict harm on you. I could do all of these things, and I would be within my right. But will I be righteous? And will God not hold me accountable? My thing is, sometimes people can do stuff to us and be a stumbling block to us, bro. I could watch somebody inflict harm on me or one of my loved ones, and I could develop anger and rage in me, bro. That's not a fruit of the spirit. That's a fruit of the flesh, bro. I could develop animosity, dissension, all of these things, bro, that could lead the devil to influence me to do stupid stuff, bro. It's stuff you can do in your anger or in your passion that is not of God. Now, rightfully, you could have been the most righteous person, bro, and someone can inflict something bad on you. How you react must still be righteous, bro. And that's the crazy thing about it, bro. And it take a lot of willpower, self-control, and it really take the fruits of the spirit to be righteous when you are being wronged, bro. You could put pressure on someone and you would be well within your right, bro. Humans could be like, oh well, you provoke him, to do that. But at the end of the day, bro, it ain't righteous because God's saying, bro, nothing no one's supposed to do to make you act independently and disregard me. Nothing the Benjamites do should have make you been like, bro, we gonna do this on our own without consulting God. Y'all know how this go, bro. Y'all know exactly. Bro, think about it. The Benjamites so good at fighting. Where they was all these times when the Philistines, the Amorites, the Amalekites, all of these people was ransacking them, bro. Where they was, bro. These people so good. You understand what I'm saying? So, like, to me, it ain't even really a testament to how good the Benjamites is. It's a testament of God teaching the Israelites a lesson as well. The Benjamites, they the reason for us being in this mess. But you are not faultless. And even in this mess, you are still moving at fault. Perhaps because of the way they going about attacking or trying to put things in their own hands. So
Perfectly said, man. Perfectly said.
Right, it's crazy, bro. Because like that to me, that ain't how I was raised. Not raised. That ain't how I understand life. Like just as a man growing up in the society where I live in, bro, certain things people do to you, bro, you can't let slide, bro. You understand what I'm saying? You know, and like even if you forgive them, you can't enable someone, bro. But think about it, bro. Imagine if God used to hold things over our head, bro. Now God does punish us, you know. But think about it, bro. Like, you was my boy, bro. We was roommates, bro. Imagine if I rob you, bro. Imagine if I literally steal something from you. You would have to look at me like, bro, this man ain't loyal, bro. I cannot associate with this man, bro. Like, he's not a trustworthy person, right?
Like we say, yeah, I gotta love him from a distance.
I gotta love him from a distance, bro. Right? God ever do that to us, bro?
Mercy.
Has God ever do that to us, bro? Does God love us from a distance, bro? We do some flagrant stuff to him. Even the Israelites, bro. The Israelites literally cheated on God, bro. They were unfaithful to God, bro. They literally chose another God over him.
Multiple.
You understand what I say? Multiple gods, bro. Like literally anything over him. And when they call on him and they cry out to him, he ain't say nobody loving y'all from a distance, bro. I ain't gonna lie. God could say, bro, if I save y'all, it could look like I forgive y'all, and people could look at me and be like, oh, look at him running back to the Israelites just for them to hurt him again. God could have been like, but I ain't gonna look stupid no more, bro. I ain't doing that. You understand what I'm saying? But I love, bro.
Man, it's funny how in our stupidity we make God look stupid.
Right.
By our human standards. I mean, like, think about it. Like, because you made the perfect analogy. But if we was God, the world wouldn't have been in a good place.
No. But
if I done start and make a whole brand new universe, this whole universe was going to get put to the side. I would have checked in periodically. But I'd have done start over multiple times.
Real dog, bro.
But God in his unfailing love, unfailing faithfulness, takes us back when logically it doesn't make sense.
Nope.
And you can see why they say, like, it's the peace that passes all understanding. It's a love that we can't comprehend. We see why he even told, who was that, Manoah, that, yeah, I'm beyond your comprehension. Because by your human logic, what I do and my characteristics shouldn't make sense.
No.
It legitimately should not make sense. But if I was a God that made sense in those ways, I wouldn't be God.
But anyone could be God if you could make it, right? If you could back into it, or if you could logically understand that, anybody can work to be in that, bro. All God is do is this, that, and the third. I can do that, but anyone can do that. You feel me?
Exactly. Like we have like a little mini Bible study at work. We do like every other week, right? It's a small group of us because, you know, it is what it is, right? But like one of the guys was like, he said something, man, because we was in Titus. Like, really, who reads Titus? But we're just going to all the, like, some of the New Testaments. Because I said Titus, is like, dang, who really reads Titus, right? But we were in Titus or something, right? And we're talking about one of the characteristics. He's like, man, I can't really understand, like, how God does this. I'm like, and I literally said, like, but if you could understand it, would you be appreciative of it? Because then you could understand God, and then wouldn't God lose some of his mystery and wonder? So I'm like, would you really want to understand? He's like, oh man, I never thought about it that way. I'm like, if you really think about like some things, it's like, you know, when you want to know, but at the end of the day, you really don't want to know.
See, but if our brains was able to comprehend it, bro, but it kind of minimizes how far superior God is.
Exactly.
Than us. You understand what I'm saying? The fact that we even want to know or want to understand, that's why God ain't never answered Job and be like, yo, this why this happening, you know. God just was like, bro, you want to take over the world for the day, bro? You want to stop the show from coming? But you even know who to turn the lights on the moon and things like that, bro?
Right,
you even know all this is happening?
Y'all don't want me because everyone would stop breathing. I'd forget to send the oxygen.
Real talk, bro. So it's like, but I so much busier, and I have so much great things to do to contribute to the world, but you can't comprehend it, bro. So don't even try to question me for sure. You understand what I'm saying? But don't try to comprehend me, because I wouldn't be as grand as I am if you were able to comprehend me. You know what I'm saying? And that's just it is what it is.
Exactly.
Like as an engineer, or like someone like who's a neuroscientist or some like something very technical, right? But if anyone could literally come and just do this all willy-nilly, bro, would it still have the same importance as it has in the world? You know what I'm saying? Like certain specialized skills. If a neuroscientist just be like, oh yeah, but I just do A, B, C, and D, bro. Anyone could do it, bro. Like they would not hold the same importance in society, bro. It's the fact that not everyone can do it, and it takes specialized skill and dedication, you know, that gives them their importance, and, you know, and why people respect them to the degree that they do respect them. And think about God, bro, the person who make the brain, and you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's like, it's just way far beyond our understanding, dog. Like, you just got to accept that.
Far beyond our comprehension. Okay. So I guess we're back to Judges. Nice little side break there.
Yeah.
So now we see all the men of Israel had given away before Benjamin, because they had relied on the ambush they had set in Gibeah. Those who had been in ambush had made a sudden dash to Gibeah, spread out, and put the whole city to the sword. Israel had arranged with the ambush that they should send up a great cloud of smoke from the city, and then the Israelites would have a counterattack. The Benjamites had begun to inflict casualties on the Israelites, about 30. And they said, we are defeating them as in the first battle. But when the column of smoke began to rise from the city, the Benjamites turned and saw the whole city going up in smoke. The Israelites counterattacked, and the Benjamites were terrified because they realized where the disaster had come from. So they fled before the Israelites in the direction of the wilderness. But they could not escape from the battle, and the Israelites who came out of the towns cut them down there. They surrounded the Benjamites, chased them out easily, overran the vicinity of Gibeah in the east. 18,000 Benjamites fell, all of them valiant fighters. As they turned and fled towards the wilderness to the rock of Rimmon, the Israelites cut down 5,000 men along the roads. They kept pressing after the Benjamites had gone as far as Gidom and struck down 2,000 more. On that day, 25,000 Benjamite swordsmen fell, all of them valiant fighters, but 600 of them turned and fled into the wilderness to the rock of Rimmon, where they stayed 4 months. The men of Israelites went back to Benjamin and put all their towns to the sword, including the animals and everything else they found. All the towns they came across, they set on fire. Man, that's a massive civil war.
So like how they was doing the Benjamites, how they were supposed to be doing, all of the people in the land of Canaan.
The rest of the land of Canaan, that might have made their lives a little bit easier, potentially.
I'd say so. Yeah.
You can never really be too sure. But according to what was written, I am reasonably sure that if y'all had just did what y'all was supposed to do a couple hundred years ago, y'all would have been sitting pretty and wouldn't have those evil influences. I mean, and again, just think how far we've come. We've come from the enemy being a Canaanite nation to the enemy being your cousin.
Yes. Yeah.
Quite literally, your cousin.
Man, but it go to show that, it just go to show how far the heart willing to go to rebel, because it ain't like God ain't already predict what was gonna happen if y'all didn't drive out the enemies. Like Moses even predict what was gonna happen.
Exactly.
You feel me? He's like, but I know when I die, y'all could turn away from all of this stuff and the curses can come upon you. You know what I mean? Like
exactly.
But bro, you know what it is? Someone tell you what's gonna happen and y'all didn't prevent it from happening. A lot of people feel like they wish they had a time machine and so they could change certain things.
Bro,
certain
I was
things
just
you
thinking
can't.
that this week.
But that's funny, bro. But this showing me certain things you can't change, bro. Certain things someone can literally prophesy to you what's going to happen. Not what is going to happen, what is likely to happen if you don't change. And some people still ain't gonna change, bro. Like, that's just how it is.
Man, that's a fact, man. Hold on. Hold that thought. I literally saw something this week and I took a screenshot of it, right? Judas had the best leader, the best advisor, the best counselor, yet he failed. If your attitude and character doesn't change or your heart doesn't transform, you will always be the same. That's essentially what they were saying. Because again, Moses, Joshua could predict all of this. But again, remember Moses, because remember also Moses said at the end of it, you guys are like a stiff-necked people and your hearts are hard. If you don't change your heart, this will happen to you guys. And we see even though throughout it, Israel still had a hard heart towards God. No matter how much good he did for them, their hearts were still hard. So you can know what's coming, but if you ain't willing to change, this was going to happen.
But if you ain't even trying to change, it's just going to happen. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Do you up to doing chapter 21? You just want to leave that for next week.
We could just leave it for next week and we could do the recap.
That's what I was thinking too while I was talking. I'm like, chapter 21 gonna be with a recap. That way it works. I'm like, we're already at an hour. We haven't seen even the skit or intro and outro yet.
Yeah, and this is a quick chapter too.
Yeah.
Great chapter.
So you want to end it? You want to have a recap?
I mean, let's just talk for a little bit.
Yeah.
We can see how it go. But the overall point is, the Israelites had no king, and they all did as they saw fit. So, in the court of public opinion, the Benjamites, they feel like they had a right to do that. Oh, these my people, bro. I ain't just letting other people come and you know what I mean, and make an example out of us. No, we could defend our people. And the Israelites felt like they needed to defend their people. Now, in the eyes of God, what was done to the Levites' concubine, that was definitely not of God. That was definitely of the devil. These people were evil people, and in a lot of ways, they would like the type of people that God was trying to destroy. But we've already been seeing that consistently in Judges. We see where we have a leader who is a promiscuous person. He unclean. He just really he just kind of arrogant. He don't really follow God. We have people who are erecting idols. We have leaders who, was former scoundrels. That the way they put him, they describe him and his band as scoundrels. But he offering child sacrifices or human sacrifices. The same things that God was very, very hard pressed against, which was why he was saying, destroy these people when they come in. Because if you all chill with them, you all gonna end up seeing their gods and you all gonna end up doing what they do. You know what I mean? The Canaanites was living like this for over 1,000 years, bro. From since Abraham's time, these people was living like this. So, If these people never had no God, their evilness could just compound over the years. But Israelites who have a God, who is literally see the works of the God and sometimes hear from God, they decide that they want to be like them. And it's to the point where God gives them chance and chance and chance and chance to stop being like them. You know, and when you stop being like them, everything good. But when you continue to be like them, you're going to get, you can't outbeat them, bro. These people, they was like this for years, bro. When you try to be like them, I only can give you over to them. And now you got to serve them. And y'all don't like that. Y'all don't like that. You know what I'm saying? And so now they get to a point where they get so much chances and so much kings, aka judges, and they don't listen to them. The judges ain't really the most ideal people either. To the point where God like, but I ain't rising up no more. You know what I mean? Y'all don't got nobody because y'all didn't want nobody. And in not having nobody, y'all running around like a chicken without a head. I remember when I was young, you know, you and I, we went to the same like elementary school, middle school. Mm-hmm. We would go on field trips, not even field trips. Another example, we'd be in class. Mm-hmm. If the teacher of an emergency or the teacher have to step out, she might leave someone in charge. This when we was younger, right? She'd come back to the class in utter turmoil, right? I always used to be so confused about this because the teachers used to really give us a stern talking to. I leave for 10 minutes, I leave for 5 minutes, and you all turning over the desk, someone fighting, you all getting into big arguments. Mm-hmm. And bro, this really used to confuse me because I'm like, bro, what do you expect will happen when you leave a bunch of kids together by themselves? How do you expect us to have respect or structure when our teacher, literally our leader, the authoritative figure is gone? Mm-hmm. Everybody, you know, they say when the cat's away, the mouse would play. You understand what I'm saying? Everybody, when left unsupervised, start to let their hair down. You know? And that's the case for the Israelites. The problem is the Israelites keep pushing they judge away. You understand what I'm saying? Like, they, instead of, not to say they pushing their judge away, but when they have a judge who making sense, sooner or later, they turn away from the principles the judge trying to enforce and the principles that God enforced, and they act as if they didn't have a judge at all, or that as if they didn't want no judge. And now they actually getting to the point where they work so hard to get, and we can see how it's utter turmoil.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if to talk.
No, I wasn't on it.
All right, but like to me, it's like a case like when you wake up in the morning and you don't really know who you're looking at. I don't know if you've had one of these days, but I remember in college, it was one time when, I had to just stop going to church for like a whole quarter or something like that. No, just going on like quote unquote soul searching mission. But you know something missing, but you don't really know what it is. And you're trying to like find to fill that void. And you just look in the mirror and be like, I don't really know what I see, or I don't like what I see. And I feel like that's where Israel was at this point. They went so far down this rabbit path, whatever you want to call it, that they're virtually unrecognizable. This is not the same nation that left Egypt. Arguably, it probably is the same nation that left Egypt, but this isn't the same nation that entered the land of Canaan. Because remember, while they were in the desert, they had to that whole generation that left Egypt had to die. They had to get rid of some of those influences that they were under, some of that bondage, some of that slavery mentality. They had to get to know God. And so when they entered in Judges, 2, in Joshua, the last chapter, Joshua said, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. But you guys do what are you guys going to do? We will also serve the Lord. Joshua's like, oh, really? They're like, yeah, no, we definitely will serve the Lord. And we see they were doing good. They were doing good. And now you see that this, in Judges 19, this is a nation that is indistinguishable from Sodom and Gomorrah. A nation who don't know who they are anymore. It's like without God, they've lost their identity. Without God, they've lost their way. And the funny thing about it is we can see in Judges 20, they still know who God is. So it goes back to like what Paul says, no one can deny the presence of God. So now we're seeing this is more of a lack of knowledge per se, but a willful choice to not follow God, which to me is even more dangerous. Because I mean, like so far in Judges, personally, me, I can talk for myself. I've been railing on the parents. Like, why haven't you guys been passing down the word of God to your children? Why haven't you passing down the word of God to your children? We've seen what's been happening when you don't pass down the word of God to your children. But then even reading this, I'm like, no, it's probably being passed around, but no one's following it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like now we're purposely choosing to go against God's will. And to me, that's even more heinous. Because now you know what's right, but you're purposely choosing to do wrong versus just not knowing what right and wrong is. No, you guys know what's right. Because we even see in chapter 20, oh yeah, this ain't working. Oh yeah, what to do? Oh yeah, let's fast, let's pray, let's offer sacrifices. Where was this all along? So y'all know what to do, but y'all purposely choosing to do wrong. And that's even more cruel in my opinion. Like this, a nation don't have no identity, but they know what their identity should be. But they only tap into it when it's convenient to them. Again, using God like an ATM for convenience, not for any like real use. It's really sad, but it's really painting to show how far the nation of Israel has fallen.
The Israelites have now completely strayed away from God. It is now to the point where there is no distinction between them and the Canaanite nations that surround them. Now, instead of seeing Israel versus the Canaanites, we now see Israel versus the Benjamites. But how did we get here? And what does this mean for Benjamin and the rest of Israel? We'll find out next week as we conclude the book of Judges on the next episode of A Breath of Fresh Air. Tonight's episode included voice acting by your hosts, Earl Roberts and Nakhaz. Remember to go ahead and research on your own in order to get a more firm understanding of tonight's episode. And if you enjoyed it, make sure to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. You can follow us on social media at A Breath of Fresh Air Pod on Instagram and BOFAPOD on Twitter. Thanks everyone, and we'll see you next week.